Hello guys and welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today we're talking about one of the frequently asked topics on Syntho's question box, and it is sending demos to labels. In today's video we're going to talk about how to find the labels, how to find contact information for the labels, when to contact them, how long to wait, all that jazz, all the things you're probably wondering when reading the title of this video. So the first thing is first. When sending demos to labels, you need to have some good music. I think a lot of us skip this part. I skipped it for many years and then had a conspiracy that there was an inside job against me, that labels weren't signing the music because some power above. But the reality is, the music was not good enough. So this isn't a insult to anyone's music, but more often than not, if you're asking these questions about how to send music to this label, how to send music to that label, it's usually a case of being patient and work on the music a bit more. And I feel like a lot of it usually figures itself out. But let's say the music is there. Secondly, we need to then decide on the labels. So I'm assuming by this point, if you spent a lot of time making music, you must have some kind of idea of artists you like and labels you like. And I think it's a very good idea to almost go for this manifestation and write down somewhere your dream labels. And then you can then think about, how do I actually get there? For example, if your dream is to release on Hot Creations, you may see some kind of path to get there. There may be other artists that release on that label who have released on small labels before getting there. And it's a really good idea to have a clear idea of where you want to go. So once you have listed the labels, I would then do some critical listening on your own music to really decide, one, is this good enough for this label? And two, is it actually suited? Because if you're making some super minimal underground shit and you're trying to get them signed to my You and Me label, it's not really what we're doing on there. We're going for more energetic, party music, things like that. This kind of applies to any label and any music you're making. It needs to fit the style. I think a lot of people, what they actually want to make is not what they are making. I had this problem for a long time. I was making music which wasn't even close to what I was playing. This isn't too long ago, really. Even now, a lot of the music I'm kind of digging. I'm chasing it constantly with the music that I'm actually making, but I don't have the delusion to then try and release the music I'm making on labels that don't quite fit with the vibe. So once you have decided on the labels you want to contact, you need to try and find some contact information. So where do you do that? The first port of call would be SoundCloud. A lot of labels who have an open demo submission system will have the email on SoundCloud, and if they don't, they may not accept demos. And what I mean by this is, there may be a label who only releases music from friends and they prefer to find the music themselves. So don't be disheartened if you cannot find a demo email. It just might not be that they're accepting demos. Secondly, you could check Instagram, see if there's an email on there. More often than not, I don't think labels will have an open-facing email on their Instagram, especially if they're big, as it could open to a lot of spamming. And my third port of call would be Bandcamp. I think this is actually a very good way to get labels' emails, but you can shoot them an email direct from Bandcamp and then send them your music. So after we have got their email, we need to compile the money shot email that everyone seems to over fascinate with. But the first thing I would say is just use your common sense. There is no secret email that's going to get the music signed. Believe it or not, people are going to sign the music, not the email. I personally, this is just my opinion, think there is this big thing blown up about how to write an email to send demos. And it's become this thing of like, don't just drop the link there. Of course, don't drop the link there. But the thing should just be, use some common sense. So a little example would be, hi, X, whoever owns a label. I'm a really big fan of the label. I've been buying it for X amount of time. I'm really into this EP, this EP, this EP. And I thought the music I've made would be a great fit for the label. Below it is a link I would love you to check out, and I've enabled downloads, so if you're feeling it, you can play them, and hopefully I'll hear back from you soon. Simple's done. I see these things where people are saying, tell them a bit about yourself, where you live, where you've DJ'd, all this. For me, personally, I'm not that interested in the name of your dog. I think it's much more important to have a nice, pleasant email with a link attached that's not an essay. A lot of labels, especially popular ones, are going to be inundated with tracks, and they're probably not going to read it anyway, and I just think it's a bit of a waste of time. I think it's better to keep it stripped back, pleasant, with a link attached. And when it comes to the link, make sure it's a SoundCloud link, not a downloadable WeTransfer link, because people want to be able to stream it, listen, and then give you feedback straight away. I think it's a good idea to have downloads enabled so the DJ could then potentially download the track and then play it themselves. So once you have emailed the label, I would strongly recommend not emailing more than one label at a time. This is because, imagine, one, they could be friends and be like, oh, we got demos from the same guy. And two, they might then go, we both want to sign them. And then you've got to burn the bridge with one of the labels. So definitely go one at a time. And then the question comes to, how long do you wait for a response? I would say 2 weeks or so. Most DJs, I think, probably check weekly. And if it's a big label, I would have thought they've got someone working a couple of days a week on checking the demos. But for the kind of stuff I'm into and the labels I'm into, usually around 2 weeks or so. But there has been cases where certain big labels have replied to me 6 months later asking to sign a track, which is then 1 week away from being pressed. So it's one of them things. If you're convinced this tune will come out on this label and it's made for that label, maybe you should be patient and waiting for the response. But more often than not, I think 2 weeks is a good time. And at the end of the day, it's not always a bad thing to say no. So if you end up waiting 6 months for a response and you've already signed it elsewhere, and then you have to say, sorry, sir, it's been signed elsewhere, it's quite a nice position to be in to show there is a demand for your music. And don't forget, you can always make some more stuff to send them. So another question which I get asked, which baffles me a bit, is how do I know what labels I should send tracks to? Well, I'd like to think you have some that you're interested in. And an easy way to do this is, say you're into Fuse, for example. You can then look at artists who released on Fuse. You could say Casey Spillman. You could then go on Casey and look at what other labels he's released on. And here you can get some ideas what other artists have done. And you can do this for any label and any artist. And you should quickly be able to see an almost pattern of labels that the artists you like and they've released on. And usually there's a bit of a crossover between similar artists and similar labels. And this can be quite a good way to give you a direction of where to send your music. Then we get questions a lot about the music itself and the volume. Should it be mixed? Should it be mastered? Should I send it as a -6 dB pre-master? My suggestion would be, do not pay for mastering before you send demos out, but I would do some form of DJ master yourself. I would put a limiter on it. You could do a little EQ, things like that, compression. But I would not overdo it because you can actually make the master sound worse if you've got bad acoustics, things like that. I have got a video inside Syntho Hub of how to do a good DJ master. Then people often ask about, should it be mixed? I would strongly suggest mixing it to the best of your abilities before sending it out. It's going to make the tune sound better, and that's going to increase the chances of the label liking it. And to be honest, that is the same with the mastering. You could get it mastered professionally before you send the demo. It's going to sound even better. It will increase the chances of it being signed, but I think just having a limiter on it and making it loud enough to test in the clubs should give the label a clear idea of if it's good enough to be signed, and this will then save you having to pay for a master. So another question is, once they are signed, do you pay for the mastering yourself? The label will usually cover that, but before you get paid any royalties or anything like that, they will recuperate their money. So altogether, I would always be patient when sending tracks to labels, and more often than not, the music will speak for itself. I would not overthink things like the email, things like that. But yeah, have fun with it. Do not be disheartened if you don't get a response. And if you get the classic, this isn't quite suited to our label, potentially the music still needs some work. So keep chipping away at it, and remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint, and good luck to everyone. If you enjoyed this video and there's any other topics you'd like me to discuss regarding anything music related, business related, things like that, comment below. Please give me a like, comment and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Peace.